Hello, everyone. Welcome to OpenLine on Tuesday night. Tonight, big show, talking about something we should all be thinking about, and that is our taxes. It is tax time. You should be thinking about what are some deductions, what are some things that you may be penalized for if you don't file appropriately. There are a lot of things to talk about. We had Dr. Friday on not that long ago. We want to have her back. Dr. Friday, thank you for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being back here. Since you were on last time, the president has submitted a budget. Now, we saw the State of the Union address. He talked about middle-income families. There is now a budget on the table.
Yes.
It may not pass, but it's there.
Yeah, it's not his job. He's supposed to submit a budget. It's not his job to make it pass necessarily. I don't blame him. So
how does that impact taxes? You know, those of us who may file taxes, how does that impact us?
Well, that's a great question, because a lot of people say, well, you know, whatever. But if you go through there, I mean, he's suggesting things on how he wants funded, what he wants money for, right? Well, money mostly comes from taxes. So we are either, and when it's said and done, he's increasing the budget by like 7%. Well, that would mean somewhere they're going to have to increase taxation. It may be a sin tax, a road tax. I mean, there's many different places, but it all comes from you and my pocket. So that's why we pay attention to things like that, because if the government, if Congress and the Senate and everybody agree on this number, whatever, you know, the final numbers are, and it's 7% higher, do you really think the reduction in taxes, do you think they're going to close loopholes, how they're going to make that happen? They're going to have to either reduce loopholes, meaning take credits from your and my pocket. Just kind of like when the last year we didn't have much tax planning because we didn't know if we were going to get college credits or teachers credits or sales tax. If they had left those off the table, I guarantee you, you and I and many of the people on the show would have had more money going out of their pocket to taxation. So it's just something that's why we watch it. You know, I mean, the budget itself isn't necessarily going to pass, but there's a lot of things in there that a lot of people are interested in, like the 529 plan. You may actually think...
Yeah, let's talk about 529 plan. That's something that affects a lot of people saving for college, right?
Absolutely. And again, it's the middle class that basically save money for college, what I consider, because people that make a certain income and lower income, you usually hope to either get scholarships, grants, or you borrow money to go to college. It's just the way it is. And if you're a trust fund baby, well, then you're not going to qualify for any of that, and so it's not going to affect you. So everyday, normal, middle-class Americans are saving money for the 529 plan. Is one way of doing that. And right now, what you basically do, you put in after-tax dollars, and when you go to college, it is free money. So you don't have to actually pay taxes when you pay on this. So the government or the president suggested that we tax that fund when it comes back out to the college student, which is already basically starving to go to college anyways, but that was one of the things that was on the table in his budget. So it's just, you know, again, it's really important to kind of watch what people say and how they're going to do it, because right now, a lot of people with 529 plans have said to me, I'm not funding it this year. I'm not doing anything. So I don't know. I don't want any more money in there in case they decide not to continue the way I wanted it to be, which was tax-free money to their children going to college.
That is interesting. Interesting to consider all of these things. So
yes.
What are some of the big surprises this year? What are some of the things people need to be thinking about, worried about, focused on? What do you think?
Filing taxes.
That's important.
I mean, physically file your taxes, okay? Some of you watching may not require to file taxes, but be sure. Be sure you're not either leaving money on the table because you work all year, you have a W-2, and you're like, oh, I don't need to worry about it, I pay taxes and whatever, and you know, billions of dollars were left on the table in the last few years. So your money is there. You can only go 3 years back to get refunds. So I have people come in, we do 7, 8 years, and I will tell you honestly, many of those years they had refunds. And
really?
We cannot apply it to the next year in which they owed money, because after 3 years, that money is gone. It is hasta la vista. So really important. Do not get more than 3 years behind in your taxes. So that's really important. And then also check your information. Your 1099s and W-2s, since the last time I was on, you have received most of those now. Make sure your Social Security number is correct. Make sure your name is correct. These are information that's going to the IRS, and if it's not right, you may not get credit for money you've paid in on them. So it's really important to double check that information. I can't tell you, probably 10% of the returns I do, we find mistakes on those forms.
Wow, that's interesting. All right, want to encourage you to call in. A couple of people on the line already. Let's go to Andrew. Hello, Andrew.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. I'm a senior citizen, and where do I go on the internet to do my taxes free?
Okay.
Thank you, and I'll hang up.
No problem. a senior citizen? Does that mean he's over the age of 65 or under? It doesn't make a difference. I will let you know. I get this call all the time. People want to know, how old do I have to be before I stop paying taxes? Just so you know, age has nothing to do with taxes. But that being said, you can go to irs.gov. In fact, if you go to the web, www.irs.gov, right on the front page, usually it says free tax preparation. Click it, and then they have people like H&R Block and them that are offering certain services depending on whatever vendors that, will take you to their websites, whoever you choose. There's many choices.
So there you go. Thank you, Andrew. Let's go to Philip now. Hello, Philip.
Hey.
Hi.
A tax historical question.
Ooh, okay.
In the history of taxes, federal tax, state income tax, which thank God we don't have here in Tennessee.
Right.
Property tax, gas tax, sales tax, has it ever gone down? Has the government ever, to your knowledge, ever said, you know what, we're taxing you too much, we're going to decrease the percentage of tax that we tax you?
Absolutely. Federal income tax, if you were my parents raising 8 children back in the 70s and 80s, the income tax was 70% for someone making nearly $60,000. So, think about that. That's huge. And given they didn't have a lot of the credits we have. So, given the average middle class person probably made $30,000. I don't know. A house only costs like 10, so it was really, one of those little chippy. But the answer is yes, the tax code went down. When Reagan came in, he reduced a lot of the taxes. So sales tax, I do know for a fact in some areas it has come down. At one point they had like surcharges and they reduced those after a period of time and things. California is one that comes to mind because I lived there, but they make it up somewhere else. So sure, there have been some times where the government has smartened up and kind of averaged the game a little bit, but I will tell you more times than not probably went up. But remember, we've only been doing taxes since the early 1900s. I think it was like 1920s is when the tax code really came into play, and that was really for the rich only. The average American did not pay taxes. Really it started coming into play probably after the war, 1940s, thereabouts, when people actually started really paying into taxes, and Social Security came into play around that time or something.
And you hear about a sunset provision. We will institute this tax and it will go away after a year or 2 years.
Don't you love that? And then they always find a way of making it stick.
Usually, yeah, that often does not happen.
Very rarely. Again, I think that was one in California, I'm thinking, where they had put in something like that. And it was only for a period of time, and it was just like a 15% or 15.15%, and it did go away. So I will tell you, it has happened. It's an interesting question, but believe it or not, the federal income tax has been a roller coaster ride. So yeah, there's been lots of ups and downs, to be honest.
That is interesting. The taxes started, they were just for the very wealthy.
Absolutely. It was just a way for them to pay for the war effects and things like that, right? They were doing roads, a lot of infrastructure going on in this country, and they had to have ways to pay for those things. So the rich has always been the one. Nowadays, over 50% of taxes are paid by the top 5%. So I don't know if you call that the rich, but the rich are paying the taxes to this day still. The lower 5% or lower 50% or whatever pay like 2%, and then the middle class pick up all the rest.
So, and this may be a subjective question.
Yeah.
Historically, how fair is our tax code now if you were to compare it to back when it first started or a generation ago? Yeah. Where do you think we are?
Now, this may not be a historical correct answer. This is a Dr. Friday answer, okay? Because I'm thinking back when it all started, there was very little deduction. It was a straight tax code, right? You didn't have credit for so many things. We don't pay you. That's not going to come out right. We don't give credit for children and all these things. When it first started, it was you made this much money and there's a 1% tax on it. Okay? So it was a straight tax, in all honesty. There was nothing. And then, of course, we started getting all these people fighting for deductions that fall on our tax code. And now, we give people, I have people that physically get more money back than they've ever paid in, right? So I don't think, personally, I don't think the tax code is fair. I think we don't need to, the tax is not a place that we need to be giving people income from. If there's organizations, food stamp programs, housing programs, child care programs that could supplement this income, we don't need to be using that through the earned income credit and all that.
Well, now when I ask, that's interesting for you to say that. When I ask, is it fair? I'm wondering, are people paying more now than they have in the past? Is it fair as far as what's paid in? But you're saying the question may be what's paid out.
Exactly. Well, it's not fair because, in my opinion, again, you got the top percentage paying 35, 39% in tax just from the federal side, and you've got the lower percentage of people getting more money back than they paid in and will ever pay in for their lifetime. So, and then the middle class basically paying a lot in and not, they don't have nearly the tax deductions or things. So, no, I think that it's different. If it was a straight tax and I said, okay, I make $100,000, you're going to pay 5% of that no matter what, just straight out. That's it. And if you make $20,000, you pay 5% of that, and that's what you pay. So that person pays $1,000 and this person pays, $5,000. That's a fair tax, in my opinion. Everybody pays the same amount.
And everyone talks about it. If you go to a dinner party, there's not a person there who wouldn't agree that that's what we should do.
Yes.
I bet if I had an elected official here, either party, if I said that's what we should do, they go, absolutely. But no one, it never gets done.
It won't get done because there's too much power. The IRS controls an entire nation. Who do you fear more than anybody else? I mean, other than your wife, if you're watching, or the police or something like that. But most of us don't really fear the police because we're not doing anything wrong. But who would you fear above other things? The Internal Revenue Service is probably in the top 10 if you were to take a trivia question. Who would you fear in this world, right? FBI and these kind of things. But really, most of us don't really fear the police because we don't do anything. But I fear, and I have a healthy respect, maybe is a better word, for the Internal Revenue Service. They have their own court systems. They have a way of doing things. So why not, I'm just saying, if they can levy your bank where you and I have to go to court and prove something, they don't have to do anything but send you a 90-day letter. These people have, and why would they give that power up? Because they wouldn't need to ever audit us.
But is it up to the IRS, or is it?
They're the enforcers.
Is it special interests in Congress?
Well,
I mean, Congress could theoretically pass a law to change all of that. Is IRS the one lobbying Congress, or is it special interests?
The IRS is only the police force for.
Right. They do what they're directed to by law.
Absolutely, I agree with you. But the IRS is who everyone attaches to, who I pay my money to, even though we pay it to the U.S. Treasury. They're the bad guys, right? They're just enforcing what is on the books to enforce. So you're absolutely right. They're not doing anything. They don't make any laws. They don't change any laws. And they certainly don't push to get laws changed. It's not their job. And it wouldn't be that hard. But I think the whole government structure it's a control thing.
For whatever reason, everyone says, I wish we could go to that simple route, and it never gets done.
Yeah. Well,
interview any politician, they would say, absolutely.
But no one knows what the percentage should be either, right?
You can't agree on that.
You can't agree on that. How much do we need to be taking because we get hit with so many taxes? How much do we need to do that? So it's an interesting conversation. We'll never in our lifetime see it happen, but it would be cool to see.
In our lifetime. All right, so if you're on the line, hold on. Madison, Mitchell, Wanda, hold on. We're going to take a break. I promise we'll get to your call. We'll take a break. Be back right after this.